All right, so are you ready to dive into something really cool today?
Always.
We're going to do a deep dive into Angela Hunt's Write Well Substack newsletter.
Oh, cool.
She's a New York Times bestselling author,
Right.
and she's written like over 165 books.
Wow.
We're talking adult thrillers, children's stories,
Wow.
fiction, nonfiction.
She does it all.
She does it all. So
Oh,
think of this as like a shortcut to all of her best writing advice.
I love it.
We'll uncover what makes her approach unique
Okay.
and pull out those practical tips that you can actually use, whether you're dreaming of writing your first novel or you've already published a few.
Yeah.
And one thing that really struck me about Hunt's newsletter
Okay.
is her focus on building a strong vocabulary.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't just say, use better words.
Right.
She makes it fun.
How does she do that?
So she has this word of the week segment
Uh-huh.
where she breaks down the etymology,
Mm-hmm.
the history, and the nuances of a word.
Okay.
It's like a mini adventure into the language itself.
That's really cool.
And it got me thinking, have you ever come across a word in your own writing
Hmm.
where you thought, there's got to be a better way to say this?
Oh, all the time.
Right?
Like
Yeah.
all the time.
Just the other day, I was trying to describe this character's feeling of unease,
Uh-huh.
and all the usual suspects, anxious, worried, nervous, felt flat.
Yeah.
And then I remembered Hunt's breakdown of disquietude,
Ooh.
and it was perfect.
Yes.
It just had this subtle sense of foreboding that the other words lacked.
That's exactly what she's talking about.
Yeah.
Choosing the right word can completely transform a sentence, even a whole paragraph.
It can.
And Hunt gives these great examples from her word of the week, like
Yeah.
misanthrope.
Uh-huh.
She connects it to online negativity and hate, which I thought was so relevant.
It is.
So suddenly, misanthrope isn't just some dusty word in a dictionary. It's a reflection of a very real phenomenon in our world.
I love that she does that.
Okay, so we've got misanthrope for those internet trolls.
Yeah.
What about lucrative? I felt like Hunt was subtly addressing the financial realities of writing when she covered that one. I think you're right. It's
Yeah.
like a gentle reminder that writing, for most of us, isn't about instant riches.
Exactly.
It's about passion, dedication. And yes, the hope that someday our work might become lucrative, but it's not the primary focus.
Exactly. And speaking of staying grounded, I found her take on tumid pretty hilarious.
Too mid.
Yeah, she uses it to describe overly flowery or pretentious writing.
Okay.
It's like she's saying, hey, it's okay to use simple language.
Yeah.
Sometimes less is more.
I love that.
Yeah.
And I think that ties in perfectly with her advice on avoiding another common writing pitfall,
Yeah.
the overuse of adverbs. You
Yeah.
know, those words ending in "kamosalia" that can sometimes make our writing feel weak and clunky.
Oh, okay, this is where it gets really interesting.
Oh.
Hunt actually uses an example from ChatGPT, that AI writing tool, to illustrate this point.
Oh, wow.
I have to admit, I chuckled when I read this section. It's like she's saying, even AI can fall into bad writing habits.
That's so fun.
Right. And what I found so helpful was how she dissects ChatGPT's adverb-laden paragraph line by line,
Yeah.
showing us exactly how to replace those weak words with stronger verbs and more descriptive language.
I can't wait to hear more about this.
Do you find yourself overusing adverbs in your own writing?
I've definitely been guilty of it in the past,
Me too.
especially when I'm rushing or feeling unsure of myself. It's like those adverbs become a crutch.
Yes.
But Hunt's search and replace trick is genius.
Uh-huh.
Just searching for ly in your manuscript can highlight those potential weak spots.
Oh, that's so smart.
It's such a simple but effective technique.
Yeah.
It forces you to really examine your word choices
Uh-huh.
and ask yourself, is there a more powerful way to convey this action or emotion?
Exactly. It's all about showing, not telling, which is a key principle in Hunt's approach to storytelling.
Right.
Now, speaking of storytelling, she dives deep into the structure of a novel, specifically the importance of chapters and scenes.
Oh, cool.
What I loved about this section was her emphasis on crafting engaging scenes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me about that.
Well, she talks about the power of a strong opening sentence to hook the reader
Uh-huh.
and orient them in the scene. And she uses this great example of a cliffhanger chapter ending.
Oh.
You know those moments where you just have to turn the page to find out what happens next?
Oh, those are the best.
Yeah,
It's like the author has cast a spell on you,
Yeah.
and you're completely at their mercy.
totally.
And I bet you've got some tricks up your sleeve for creating those irresistible cliffhangers.
Well, Hunt's advice is all about building tension and leaving the reader with a burning question. Maybe it's a shocking revelation, a sudden danger, or even just a subtle hint of what's to come. The key is to create a sense of anticipation that keeps them hooked.
Okay.
But what really sets Hunt apart is how she tackles those less discussed aspects of storytelling, like how to write about miracles without resorting to Deus ex machina.
Okay, I've heard that term before, but remind me what it means and why it's a problem.
So Deus ex machina literally means God from the machine. And it refers to those moments in a story where a seemingly unsolvable problem is suddenly resolved by some random or improbable event. It's
Yeah.
like the author is waving a magic wand and saying, poof, problem solved.
Right, it feels unearned and can really take you out of the story.
Exactly.
So how does Hunt suggest we handle those miraculous moments?
She offers a 3-step process,
Okay.
using Leif Enger's piece, like a river, as a brilliant example.
Okay.
First, you establish the possibility of miracles early on, subtly hinting that extraordinary things can happen in this world.
Okay, so you're laying the groundwork, preparing the reader for the possibility of the unexpected. What's next?
Then, around the midpoint of the story, you offer a gentle reminder that those miracles are still in play.
Uh-huh.
It could be a character's fleeting thought, a symbolic image, or even a brief conversation, just enough to keep that sense of wonder alive.
Got it. So you're building anticipation, reminding the reader that anything is possible, and
Finally, in the final act, you unveil the climactic miracle. But because you've woven those threads of possibility throughout the story,
Yeah.
it feels earned, organic, and deeply satisfying.
So it's about creating a sense of believability, even within a world where miracles can occur.
Exactly.
It's not about cheap tricks. It's about masterful storytelling.
Exactly. And Hunt's approach ensures that those miraculous moments resonate with the reader long after they've finished the book.
This is so helpful.
Hmm.
I'm already thinking about how I can weave these ideas into my own writing. But let's shift gears for a moment
Okay.
and tackle a question that plagues so many aspiring writers.
All right.
Should I use a pen name?
Ooh, that's a good one.
I know Angela Hunt has some interesting thoughts on this in her newsletter.
Okay, cool. Yeah, she does. And it's a question that doesn't have a simple yes or no answer.
Right.
Hunt acknowledges that in most cases, building a brand around your real name is beneficial.
Yeah, especially as you publish more works.
Especially if you publish more works,
Yeah.
exactly. But there are strategic reasons why a pen name might make sense.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
Well, Hunt brings up some great examples.
Okay.
Think about Nora Roberts, the romance queen.
Oh, yeah.
She writes mystery thrillers under the pen name J.D. Robb.
Oh, right.
It helps her separate those genres and manage reader expectations.
Yeah, a romance fan picking up a J.D. Robb novel might be in for a bit of a shock.
Exactly. And then you have Stephen King, who famously used the pseudonym Richard Bachman.
Oh, wow.
And his reason was fascinating.
What was it?
To get around publishing restrictions that limited authors to one book release per year.
Wow. So he was basically outsmarting the system with a pen name. I never knew that.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that the publishing world has its own quirks and challenges.
It does, and Hunt doesn't shy away from addressing those challenges. She also delves into a topic that's incredibly relevant to all writers, no matter what stage they're at.
What's that?
Burnout.
Oh, yeah. Burnout is real.
Yeah.
It's like hitting a wall creatively and emotionally.
Yeah.
So what advice does Hunt offer for dealing with it?
Well, she draws a lot of inspiration from Julia Cameron's The Artist's Way, particularly the concept of daily artist's pages. Have you ever tried those?
I've heard of them. It's basically free writing.
Yeah.
Right? Just letting whatever's in your head spill onto the page without judgment or editing.
Exactly. It's not about producing polished prose. It's about clearing the mental clutter and making space for fresh ideas. It's like a mental detox for your creative mind.
That sounds incredibly freeing.
Yeah.
I can see how that would help combat burnout.
Right. And Hunt also recommends scheduling a weekly artist's date.
An artist's date?
Yeah, it's basically a dedicated block of time to do something purely for enjoyment, something that fills your creative time. Well, it could be anything from visiting a museum to taking a walk in nature, whatever sparks your joy and inspiration.
I love that idea. It's a reminder that we need to nourish ourselves creatively, not just sit at our desks and churn out words.
Absolutely. It's about finding that balance between the discipline of writing and the freedom of exploration. And then Hunt adds a third element to her self-care routine that I found particularly intriguing.
Oh, do tell.
She stresses the importance of observing a Sabbath, a day of rest from ordinary work, which includes writing. She believes it allows for rejuvenation and a fresh perspective.
That's so interesting. It's like giving your creative mind a chance to breathe and recharge.
Precisely.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing that even in a pursuit we love, we need to create space for rest and renewal.
You know, this whole conversation about burnout and self-care makes me think about another big question that writers grapple with.
What's that?
Where do ideas even come from in the first place? It feels like this mystical process sometimes, doesn't it?
It does, and I love how Hunt tackles this question in her newsletter. She approaches it from two distinct angles, fiction and nonfiction.
Okay.
So for nonfiction writers, she emphasizes drawing on personal experiences and knowledge.
Okay, so using your life as inspiration, but I imagine it's not as simple as just recounting your experiences, right?
Right. Hunt cautions against assuming that just any life story will automatically resonate with readers.
Yeah.
She says it's about finding those universal truths, those lessons learned that others can connect with and learn from.
So it's about extracting meaning and offering valuable insights to the reader. It's not just about me, me, me.
Exactly. She actually uses her own experience with adoption to illustrate this point.
Oh, boy.
She and her husband went through a challenging and ultimately rewarding journey,
Yeah.
but she realized that their story alone wouldn't necessarily sell.
Interesting. So what did she do?
Well, she turned her personal story into The Adoption Option, a book that went beyond her individual experience to provide practical guidance and resources for other Christian couples seeking to adopt. She basically transformed her story into a service for others.
That's so smart. She found a way to make her personal experience relevant and valuable to a wider audience. But what about fiction? Where do those fantastical ideas come from?
That's where it gets really fun.
Hmm.
Hunt acknowledges that while ideas can strike at any moment,
Uh-huh.
those truly great ideas often require a more deliberate approach.
Okay.
And she breaks it down into 4 key elements:
Okay.
plot, character, setting, and theme.
Okay, I'm loving this framework already. It's like a recipe for brewing up brilliant story ideas.
Right. And Hunt emphasizes that you don't need all 4 elements at once.
Oh.
Even a single element can get the ball rolling.
Okay.
She sheds a great example of how she developed the idea for her novel. The canopy, it all started with a captivating setting, the rainforest canopy.
The rainforest canopy. Now, that's an unusual setting.
It is, and that's what made it so compelling to her. She read an article about researchers studying this unique ecosystem,
Uh-huh.
and she realized it was a world ripe for storytelling.
Okay, so she's got her setting. How did she find the other elements?
Well, a while later, she stumbled upon another fascinating piece of information:
Okay.
a rare and fatal disease called fatal familial insomnia.
Oh, wow.
It's a genetic condition that essentially robs people of their ability to sleep.
Wow, that sounds terrifying.
It is.
Yeah.
But Hunt saw the narrative potential.
Mm.
She thought, what if I create a character, a woman battling this terrible disease,
Yeah.
and sent her on a quest to the rainforest in search of a cure?
Okay, now we're talking. She's got her setting, her plot, and her main character. What about the theme? How did that emerge?
Well, Hunt's research into the rainforest led her to another intriguing discovery.
What was that?
An Amazonian tribe whose beliefs through their close relationship with nature had striking similarities to the concept of a single, all-powerful God.
Wow.
This sparked an idea for her theme, faith and healing, both physical and spiritual.
It's amazing how all these seemingly disparate pieces, the rainforest, the disease, the tribe's beliefs, came together to form a cohesive and meaningful story idea.
It really is, and Hunt encourages writers to be collectors of these intriguing elements. It could be an unusual setting, a peculiar character quirk, a thought-provoking theme, anything that sparks your imagination. Jot it down, keep a running list, and let those ideas simmer.
This reminds me of something Anne Lamott talks about in her book, Bird by Bird. She keeps an index card file of story ideas, character sketches, bits of dialogue, anything that captures her attention.
I love that. It's like a treasure chest of creative possibilities.
Yeah.
And Hunt suggests playing around with these elements, combining them in unexpected ways, and always asking that what-if question.
The what-if question, it's like a magic key that unlocks endless possibilities. What if a struggling artist discovers a hidden talent for communicating with animals? What if a time traveler accidentally alters the course of history?
Exactly. It's about embracing curiosity and letting your imagination run wild.
This is so inspiring.
Yeah.
It makes me want to grab my notebook and start brainstorming right now.
But you know what else I'm curious about?
What's that?
Hunt talks a lot about the importance of understanding the technical aspects of writing, going beyond just having a good story idea.
Yeah.
I'm wondering what insights she has on structuring a novel and crafting those compelling scenes that keep readers hooked. You know, it's funny, we often hear about like the magic of storytelling,
Right.
but sometimes the actual process of writing feels anything but magical.
Yeah.
It can be downright challenging.
It can. It really can.
So how do we bridge that gap? Well, that's where Angela Hunt comes in.
Okay.
In her Write Well newsletter. She doesn't shy away from the nitty-gritty of the writing process. She dives into those technical aspects. offering practical advice on structuring a novel and crafting those compelling scenes that keep readers glued to the page.
Yeah, that's what I love about her approach.
Mm-hmm.
She blends inspiration with practical guidance.
Yeah.
Now, one thing she emphasizes is the importance of understanding the concept of scenes.
Okay.
So I'm curious, how does she define a scene? And why are they so crucial to a novel's structure?
So Hunt describes a scene as a mini-story within the larger narrative.
Okay.
It has a beginning, a middle, and an end, and typically unfolds in one location at a specific time from a single character's point of view.
Okay, so it's like a focused snapshot of a specific moment in the story. But why are these scenes so important?
Well, think of scenes as the building blocks of your novel. They're where the action happens, where characters interact, where conflicts arise and are resolved. They create a sense of momentum, drawing the reader deeper into the narrative. Without strong scenes, your story can feel disjointed and lack that page-turning quality.
That makes perfect sense. It's like constructing a house.
Yeah.
You need those individual bricks carefully laid and mortared together to create a solid and cohesive structure. But how do we know when to start a new scene? What are those cues that signal a shift in the story?
Well, Hunt suggests that a new scene is often warranted when there's a significant change in time, location, or point of view.
Okay.
For instance, if your characters are having breakfast at home and then suddenly it's the next day and they're at a business meeting, that's a clear signal for a scene break.
Right. It's about creating those distinct moments in the story, those shifts that help the reader orient themselves and follow the flow of the narrative. But are there times when you might break those rules? Maybe for dramatic effect or to create a sense of urgency?
Absolutely. Hunt acknowledges that sometimes it's effective to deviate from those traditional scene breaks. She calls these single-purpose scenes, and they often serve to heighten tension or create suspense.
Oh, I love those moments.
Yeah.
Give me an example.
Imagine your protagonist is in a life or death situation. Maybe they're trapped in a burning building. You could cut away from that scene for a moment to show the firefighters racing towards the blaze, their sirens wailing. It's not a full-blown scene, but a quick glimpse, just enough to ratchet up the tension and leave the reader on the edge of their seat.
That's so clever.
Yeah.
It's like a quick zoom in on a crucial detail, adding another layer of intensity to the story. But how do we ensure those scenes, whether they're traditional or those single-purpose snippets, are truly engaging? What makes a scene captivating for the reader?
Hunt emphasizes the importance of conflict within a scene.
Okay.
Even if a character is alone with their thoughts, there should be some internal struggle, some tension that drives the scene forward. It's about creating a sense of purpose and direction, even in those quieter moments.
So even in those introspective scenes, there needs to be a sense of movement,
Yes.
of something at stake.
Exactly. It's about keeping the reader engaged, curious, and invested in what happens next. And Hunt reminds us that crafting compelling scenes, like any aspect of writing, takes practice and refinement. It's about experimenting, trying different approaches, and seeing what works best for your story and your voice.
Well, I feel like we've unearthed a treasure trove of writing wisdom today, thanks to Angela Hunt and her Write Well newsletter.
We have.
It's clear that she's passionate about helping writers hone their craft and navigate the often challenging world of storytelling.
She is, and her newsletter is so valuable because it's not just a collection of tips and tricks.
Right.
It's a blend of practical advice, personal anecdotes, and genuine encouragement delivered with warmth and humor.
Exactly. It's like having a trusted mentor cheering you on every step of the way. So if you're ready to take your writing to the next level and tap into a wealth of wisdom from a seasoned pro, I highly recommend checking out Angela Hunt's Write Well newsletter. You can find it at angelahuntbooks.com with both free and paid subscription options to fit your needs.
Yeah, it's a fantastic resource for writers of all levels, whether you're just starting out or you're a seasoned author looking for fresh inspiration and practical guidance.
And remember, the journey of writing is a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah.
Be kind to yourself, embrace the challenges, and never stop exploring the endless possibilities of storytelling. Happy writing, everyone.